My 86-year-old hands, a roadmap of wrinkles, tremble as I set the faded photograph on the table. The memories are as sharp as shards of glass, despite the relentless march of time. Some call my survival a miracle, and maybe they're right. It all started when I was 6, a tiny, frail girl named Lucy, burdened by a mysterious illness that baffled doctors. My eyes, I recall vividly, held a disturbing yellowish tint, fatigue my constant shadow. Doctors shook their heads. My mother, Mariana, wept silently, her tears hidden in the quiet hours when she thought I slept. "I'm so sorry, ma'am, but we don't know what's wrong with her," echoed through those months as my strength ebbed away. Mariana, a breathtaking woman, possessed an inner strength forged in the crucible of hardship. She worked double shifts at the local bakery to pay for my treatments, her smile a brave mask concealing the sorrow in her eyes. My father had died when I was 2. I held no memories of him, but Mom always said I had his eyes, whispering, "They hold the same curious wonder as your father's, Lucy," as she tucked me in at night. Life took a dramatic turn with Roberto's arrival. Tall, imposing, his voice a booming presence, he swept my mother off her feet in a whirlwind romance. Initially, it was idyllic. Flowers for Mom, ice cream for me, and even Thor, a German shepherd, became my inseparable shadow. "This dog will be your guardian angel," Roberto declared, bringing Thor home, unaware of the chilling prophecy. The fairy tale crumbled quickly under the weight of financial woes, revealing Roberto's true nature. Alcohol became his crutch, replacing love with rage. My undiagnosed illness transformed into an unnecessary expense in his eyes. "I'm sick of throwing money away on a girl who's going to die anyway," he'd bellow, convinced I couldn't hear. Thor became my silent protector. Whenever Roberto's voice rose, the dog would wedge himself between us, a low growl his only warning, as if instinctively understanding. Mom desperately tried to maintain the fragile peace, sacrificing herself to shield me. "It's just a phase, my darling," she'd murmur, brushing my hair. "Roberto loves us. He's just going through a rough patch." But I saw the fear reflected in her eyes, the terror that flickered whenever Roberto's car arrived late. The day everything changed dawned like any other. Weak, feverish, and aching, I woke to find Mom already at work. "Roberto was to take me for more tests. Today we'll find out what ails you, you little runt," he sneered, hoisting me into his battered truck. Thor tried to jump in, but Roberto shoved him away with his foot. "That dog's not coming." Thor's desperate howl echoed as we drove away, his fading form in the rearview mirror, a heartbreaking image seared into my memory. That unwavering loyalty would prove to be the difference between life and death. Roberto drove in grim silence, chain smoking, as I huddled on the seat, shivering despite the summer heat. Instead of heading towards town, he veered onto a desolate track, winding deeper into the unforgiving desert. "Where are we going?" I whispered. "The hospital is the other way." "We're going to a special doctor," he replied curtly, his knuckles white as he gripped the steering wheel. The landscape morphed. Trees and houses gave way to thorny scrub and red earth. The air grew harsh. The sun's intensity, a burning brand, a primal fear, inexplicable and chilling, gripped my heart. He stopped the truck in the middle of nowhere. Desert stretched to the horizon, unbroken and infinite. Without a word, he opened my door. "Get out!" he commanded, avoiding my gaze. "Where's the doctor?" I asked, terrified and confused. "There isn't one, Lucy," his voice unnervingly calm. "I can't keep doing this. Your mother and I would be better off without you." What followed remains etched onto my soul, a permanent scar. He forced me out of the truck, handing me a half-full water bottle and an old blanket. "Maybe someone will find you," he said, but his eyes held no hope. "Or maybe it's best if it ends quickly. The doctors say you're incurable anyway." He climbed back into the truck and sped away, leaving behind a dust cloud that choked me with violent coughs. I screamed and ran, my weakened legs barely supporting me. I fell, scraping my knees and palms on the scorching earth. The truck disappeared over the horizon, leaving me utterly alone in the vast expanse of the desert. The sun beat down mercilessly. I crawled under a meagerly shady bush, clutching the blanket like a lifeline. Tears streamed down my face, mingling with sweat and dust. "Mama," I whispered, knowing she couldn't hear. "Mama, please come get me." The hours crawled by, each one an eternity. I rationed the water, tiny sips barely easing the burning thirst. My childish mind didn't fully grasp the danger, but I knew I was lost, alone, and fading fast. The heat intensified my illness. As sunset approached, terror consumed me. Stories of desert creatures, of bone-chilling night temperatures, flooded my mind. I huddled under the blanket, shivering uncontrollably. In that moment of utter despair, I heard it, a familiar bark, sending my heart soaring. "Thor?" I croaked. And there he was, running towards me, a dark shadow against the crimson twilight. My loyal German shepherd, tongue lolling, fur dusted with desert sand, had tracked us across the wasteland. His warm, panting body was the anchor I desperately needed. "Thor, you came for me," I sobbed, burying my face in his fur as he licked away my tears. That night, Thor was my shield against the cold, my beacon of hope in the darkness. He nestled beside me, sharing his body heat, ever vigilant. With him, I felt a flicker of survival. That cruel abandonment wasn't the end, but the beginning of a miracle that would forever alter the course of my life. Dawn broke, bringing with it a resolve born of desperation. With Thor as my guardian, I knew I had to find a way out. I wasn't just a sick, abandoned girl anymore. I was a survivor, and that first day in the desert marked the start of a journey that would lead me to a destined encounter, transforming not only my life, but the lives of countless others. The second day brought a brutal reality check. My frail body struggled against the extreme conditions. The water bottle was almost empty, my throat raw with each breath. Thor, my four-legged angel, never left my side. We set off at dawn, when the heat was less intense. Finding direction seemed impossible for a 6-year-old, but Thor possessed an instinct I lacked. He padded ahead, constantly turning to ensure I followed, as if comprehending the gravity of our plight. "Thor, we need to find water," I said, as if he understood. Perhaps he did, for he whined softly and altered course. We walked for hours, resting in any shade we could find. My illness worsened, my skin burning not only from the sun, but the fever raging within. The symptoms the doctors had failed to diagnose intensified. The yellowing of my eyes deepened. Fatigue became overwhelming, and reddish spots began appearing on my arms. At midday, Thor barked insistently. I followed, dragging my feet, to find a small cactus. He began digging around its base. "What are you doing, Thor?" I asked, bewildered. Then I understood. The earth was damp. I helped him dig, and a small puddle of muddy water formed. It wasn't much, and it was dirty, but it was water. "You're a genius, Thor," I whispered, kissing his dusty nose. We drank, sharing the precious liquid. It was ancient knowledge, a primal instinct I never knew a dog possessed, finding subsurface water in the desert. We continued our journey. As the sun dipped towards the horizon, I saw something in the distance, a figure lying on the ground. Thor was the first to react, running towards the still form. I followed, my heart a frantic drum of hope and fear. The figure resolved into a man, lying prostrate in the sand. "Sir?" I called out, my voice a raspy whisper. "Sir, are you all right?" No response. Thor began licking the man's hand, and I saw a slight movement. He was alive, but barely. I knelt beside him, momentarily forgetting my own suffering. With all my might, I turned him onto his back. His face was sunburnt, his lips cracked and bleeding. He looked to be in his 40s, dark hair matted with dust, but it was his eyes that stole my breath. They held the same yellowish tint as mine. "Water," he murmured, his voice barely audible. I hesitated, clutching the nearly empty bottle. Our only remaining hope, but something within me, perhaps the inherent kindness Mom always said I possessed, moved me to offer him the water. "Drink slowly," I said, supporting his head. He drank, a flicker of revival in his eyes. "Who are you?" he asked, coughing. "What's a little girl doing out here alone?" "My name is Lucy," I replied. "And I'm not alone. I have Thor." Thor nuzzled close, and the man reached out a trembling hand to stroke him. "I'm Eduardo," he said, his voice stronger now. "How did you get here, Lucy?" The question unleashed the dam of emotions I'd held back. Tears flowed freely as I recounted my stepfather's abandonment, Thor's unwavering loyalty, our desperate journey across the desert. Eduardo listened silently, a flicker of anger in his gaunt face. When I finished, he tried to sit up, but weakness overcame him. "Lucy, I think fate brought us together for a reason," he said after a moment of silence. "I'm also sick, with the same illness you have." My heart leaped. I had never met anyone with the same symptoms, the same unsettling yellow in their eyes. "You know what it is?" I asked, hope igniting my voice. "You know what we have?" Eduardo nodded slowly. "It's a rare disease, a genetic mutation affecting the liver and blood. Doctors call it Hoffmann-Rossi syndrome. Extremely rare, affecting only 1 in millions. But how is it possible that we both have it?" I asked, struggling to comprehend the coincidence. "I don't know, little one," Eduardo replied, his voice thick with emotion. "But I don't believe it's a coincidence that we met here, in the middle of nowhere." He then told his story. Eduardo was a biologist who had dedicated his life to researching rare diseases, driven by his own condition. He'd been working on a potential treatment when his funding was cut. Desperate, he'd ventured into the desert to collect plants that, according to his research, might contain compounds useful for treating his illness. "But I underestimated the desert," he concluded. "I got lost, ran out of water, and when you found me, I was about to die. Now we're together," I said with a child's simple hope. "We can help each other." Eduardo smiled weakly and took my hand. It was a strange and beautiful moment. 2 souls united by suffering and a rare disease, meeting against all odds in the vastness of the desert. Nightfall brought the desert's relentless chill. Eduardo, despite his weakness, showed remarkable resourcefulness, teaching me to build a makeshift shelter using the blanket and dry branches. Thor huddled between us, providing warmth. "We need to conserve our energy," Eduardo said. "Tomorrow we'll try to find our way back to civilization." But that night, fever attacked me with renewed ferocity. The reddish spots had spread, and I felt like liquid fire coursed through my veins. Thor, sensing my suffering, whimpered softly, licking my burning forehead. "I'll be all right, Thor," I whispered, but even I didn't believe myself. I drifted between consciousness and feverish dreams, Mom weeping, Roberto laughing cruelly, and strangely, a bright laboratory where Eduardo and I were studied as if we were creatures from another world. At dawn, Eduardo awoke, startled by my condition. He felt my forehead and shook his head, his concern palpable. "You're burning up, Lucy," he said, his voice strained. "We have to find help today, or—" He didn't finish the sentence. It wasn't necessary. We both knew what was at stake. With desperation-fueled determination, Eduardo summoned strength he didn't know he possessed. He hoisted me onto his shoulders despite his own weakness, and with Thor leading the way, we began our 3rd day in the desert. "Tell me about your mother," Eduardo asked as we walked, trying to keep me conscious. Through the haze of fever, I spoke of Mariana, her warmth, her unconditional love, her tireless work, her bedtime stories. "She sounds like an extraordinary woman," Eduardo remarked. "She must be searching for you frantically." "She doesn't know where I am," I murmured, tears mingling with sweat on my face. "Roberto must have lied." "We'll find her, Lucy," Eduardo promised. "I'll get you back to your mother. I swear it." Around midday, Thor barked excitedly. He'd found a barely visible dirt track, the first sign of civilization in days. "Good boy, Thor," Eduardo praised, his hope renewed. "Now we just need to follow this road." But my strength was failing. The disease, exacerbated by the extreme conditions, was winning. My vision blurred, each breath a struggle. "Eduardo," I whispered, "I can't go on." "You can, little warrior," He encouraged, though I saw fear in his eyes. You've survived this long, more than most adults could manage. Don't give up. In that critical moment, Eduardo made a selfless decision. Despite his own illness, he hoisted me onto his shoulders again. We'll get out of here together, he declared, his voice a mix of determination and exhaustion. Thor barked his approval and we pressed on. I drifted in and out of consciousness, vaguely aware of Eduardo's superhuman effort. The hours melted into a haze of pain and hope. The sun began to set when Thor, ever watchful, barked frantically. In the distance, almost like a mirage, we saw the lights of a vehicle approaching. Eduardo mustered his last ounce of strength and ran towards the road, waving his arms desperately. A farmer in a pickup truck stopped. "Good heavens!" he exclaimed. "What happened to you?" "Please," Eduardo pleaded, his voice hoarse. "This girl needs urgent medical attention. We're both sick." The farmer didn't ask questions. He helped us into his truck, Thor jumping agilely into the back. As the truck sped towards civilization, Eduardo held me close, whispering words of encouragement. "We made it, Lucy," he repeated. "We made it." In my feverish state, I wasn't sure if it was real or another dream, but the rumble of the engine, the wind on my face, and Eduardo's solid presence grounded me in reality. Somehow, against all odds, we had survived. What we didn't know then was that our desert encounter was just the beginning of a much larger story. A story that would involve astonished doctors, groundbreaking research, and a discovery that would change the understanding of the disease we shared. A desert rescue. A gray, anonymous hospital on the outskirts of some town I didn't know. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead as they wheeled me down what felt like endless corridors. Fragments of those early hours remain. Blurry faces behind surgical masks, the sting of needles, urgent voices swirling in my fevered mind. Critical condition, severe dehydration, possible liver failure. Whispering, almost inaudible, I kept asking, "Where's Eduardo?" And Thor? No one seemed to hear. The world dissolved into a hazy swirl of color and sound. I fell into a deep, dreamless sleep. Or maybe it was unconsciousness. I couldn't tell. I woke to sunlight filtering through a small window. An IV drip was in my arm, a rhythmic beeping coming from a machine beside the bed. A kind-faced nurse smiled. "Good morning, little warrior," she said, adjusting the IV. "You gave us quite a scare." My first words, "Eduardo, the man with me." She nodded sympathetically. "He's in another room, getting treatment. He was critical too when you arrived." "And Thor, my dog, he's fine," she reassured me. "The farmer who found you is looking after him until things settle down." Things were complicated. The farmer had alerted authorities to an abandoned child in the wilderness. The police were involved, searching for my mother and Roberto. Meanwhile, the doctors were baffled by my condition. "I've never seen anything like it," I overheard one doctor say. "Tests show anomalies incompatible with any known disease, and the man shows the exact same markers." 3 days later, I finally saw Eduardo, fragile, hooked up to machines. Yet his eyes lit up when I entered, accompanied by a nurse. "My little lifesaver," he whispered, extending a hand. "Come." His hug, as frail as he was, felt deeply profound. Two souls connected by suffering, and a mysterious illness no one understood. "Your mother's been contacted," he told me. "She's on her way. Apparently, Roberto told her he'd left me with an aunt. When she tried to reach her and discovered the lie, she reported me missing." Tears streamed down my face. The thought of seeing my mother filled me with overwhelming joy. "And Roberto?" I asked, apprehensive. "The police are looking for him," Eduardo said, his voice hardening. "They'll find him, Lucy. He'll pay for what he did." That afternoon, a distinguished doctor, silver-haired with wire-rimmed glasses, appeared. Dr. Alejandro Montes, a specialist in rare genetic disorders. "I came from the capital upon hearing of your case," he explained, his gaze shifting between Eduardo and me. "What you both have is extraordinarily rare. 2 individuals presenting with the same condition, Statistically impossible. Eduardo sat up slightly. Doctor, as I explained to the local physicians, I believe we suffer from Hoffmann-Rossi syndrome, he said. I'm a biologist and I've researched my own condition for years. Dr. Montes was impressed. Your diagnosis is correct, Mr. Vega. Incredible you identified it yourself, considering there are only about 30 documented cases worldwide. I listened, a mix of confusion and hope rising within me. For the first time, someone seemed to understand. Is there a cure? I asked with childlike directness. Dr. Montes looked at me, a mix of compassion and something else. Scientific curiosity, perhaps. Not yet, little one, he answered honestly. But we're working on it, and perhaps, just perhaps, the fact that you two found each other. That might be the key we've been looking for. Eduardo understood. His eyes widened with sudden comprehension. You're suggesting what I think you're suggesting, Doctor, he asked, his voice slightly trembling. Dr. Montes nodded, cautious but visibly excited. He explained the syndrome, the unique genetic mutations, the subtle variations in each case. His hypothesis, complementary variations, a possibility of one blood-holding elements to help the other. A bone marrow transplant, perhaps stem cell therapy. Suddenly, a commotion in the hallway. The door burst open and a woman rushed in, her face streaked with tears. Lucy! My Lucy! She cried, arms outstretched. Mom! I cried, running into her embrace. It was like coming home after traversing hell. Dr. Montes and Eduardo watched, their emotions restrained. After a while, once my mother calmed, he explained everything. Our rare disease, the unbelievable desert encounter, the potential of this chance meeting. My mother listened intently, never letting go of me. You're saying my daughter and this man met by chance in the desert, and they both have the same rare disease that might be treatable through each other? She asked, incredulous. The odds are astronomically low, Dr. Montes admitted. But it happened. Some would call it fate, a miracle. As a scientist, I prefer to see it as an extraordinary coincidence we can exploit. Eduardo extended his hand to my mother. Ma'am, I know this is overwhelming, he said softly, but your daughter saved my life in that desert, literally and metaphorically. If there's even a sliver of a chance we can help each other overcome this disease, I believe we should try. My mother hesitated before shaking his hand. My daughter has always been special, she said, a mix of pride and sorrow in her voice. Since she was a baby, I knew there was something different about her. Doctors never could tell us what she had. And now, her voice broke. Dr. Montes then explained the next steps. We would be transferred to a university hospital in the capital, where a team of specialists would investigate our condition and potential therapies. Meanwhile, he added, the police are still searching for Roberto Garcia, Lucy's stepfather. My mother's expression hardened at the name. I entrusted everything to that man, she said, her voice cold as ice, and he abandoned my daughter to die. I will never forgive him. The following days were a whirlwind. Countless medical tests, blood work, bone marrow biopsies, MRIs, genetic analyses, all while preparing for our transfer. Thor, my faithful savior, was with my mother, temporarily cared for by a neighbor. I was promised I'd see him soon. One afternoon, while Eduardo and I played chess, he was teaching me. Doctor, Montes entered with an unreadable expression. I have news, he announced, holding a file. And it's extraordinary. Eduardo dropped his chess piece. What have you found, Doctor? He asked, a mix of fear and hope in his voice. Dr. Montes sat on the edge of the bed. The genetic analyses confirmed Hoffmann-Rossi syndrome. But there was more. I had a never-before-seen genetic variation. My body produced a modified protein that, theoretically, could neutralize the worst effects of the syndrome. Eduardo leaned forward, intrigued. You're saying she might hold the key to a treatment? Potentially, yes, confirmed the doctor. The fascinating part? Despite this protective variation, I still had symptoms, and that's where Eduardo came in. His cells showed an exceptional ability to absorb and replicate external proteins. Combine my unique protein with his absorption capacity. We could create a therapy, Eduardo finished, his voice trembling with excitement. I watched, not fully understanding. For me, a 6-year-old, it boiled down to a simple question. Does this mean we'll get better? I asked, with innocent simplicity. Dr. Montes smiled cautiously. It's possible, Lucy. I can't promise anything, but there's hope. Real science-based hope. That night, as my mother slept in a chair beside my bed, I reflected on the strange path my life had taken. Roberto's cruel abandonment, which seemed like the end of everything, had become the beginning of something extraordinary. My encounter with Eduardo, 2 people with the same rare disease meeting in the vastness of the desert. It defied all logic and probability. Later, I learned the press had become interested in our story. A local newspaper ran the headline, Desert Miracle. Abandoned girl and sick scientist may hold cure for rare disease. The media attention attracted the interest of medical research foundations and, more importantly, led to Roberto's arrest as he tried to cross the border. On our 4th day, as we prepared for transfer, familiar barks echoed in the hallway. Thor burst through the door, racing straight to my bed, barking and wagging his tail frantically. "Thor!" I exclaimed, embracing my faithful friend. My mother had obtained special permission for a visit before the transfer. Eduardo watched, smiling. "That dog's the real hero of this story," he commented. "Without him, neither you nor I would be alive." I agreed, burying my face in Thor's fur. Hero seemed an inadequate word. Dr. Montes, who'd entered with Thor and my mother, coughed to get our attention. "There's another development you should know," he said, his tone suddenly serious. "Further tests revealed something unexpected. The condition you share seems to be progressing faster than anticipated, especially in Eduardo." My mother gasped. Eduardo remained stoic, as if he'd suspected. "How long?" he asked simply. "Without treatment, perhaps a few months," the doctor answered bluntly. "This is why we must transfer you immediately and begin the experimental protocols." In that moment, with Thor nestled protectively beside me and Eduardo's face set with fierce determination, I understood we were in a race against time. A race where the prize was not just our lives, but potentially the lives of countless others suffering silently with this unknown disease. The next day, an air ambulance transported Eduardo and me to the National University Hospital. Thor traveled with my mother, following by road. The start of the experimental protocols marked a new chapter, one neither of us could have fully anticipated. What had begun as the cruelest imaginable act, the abandonment of a sick child in the desert, was evolving into something many would call a miracle. But as I learned in the years that followed, true miracles aren't supernatural events with no explanation. True miracles are those improbable chains of events that, against all odds, lead us exactly where we need to be. The National University Hospital was impressive. Glass towers reflecting the sky, endless corridors filled with doctors and students moving with purpose. For a girl who had grown up in a small village, it was like stepping into another world. Eduardo and I were placed in adjoining rooms in a special research unit. The walls were brightly painted, decorated with cartoon characters, a well-intentioned attempt to make the environment less intimidating for child patients. My mother received a small adjoining room where she could stay with me, and miraculously, after much persistence on her part, she secured special permission for Thor to visit regularly. Dr. Montes introduced us to the team of specialists who would be working with us: immunologists, hematologists, geneticists, and rare disease experts. Dr. Isabel Fuentes, a kind-eyed geneticist with gentle hands, became my favorite doctor. She always patiently explained procedures, using analogies I could understand. "Your blood is like a special puzzle, Lucy," she told me one day, while preparing me for a new series of tests. "And Eduardo's puzzle is different, but complementary. We're trying to see how the pieces fit together. The first few days were overwhelming. Test after test, analysis after analysis. My little body was full of needle pricks, and sometimes I cried in frustration and exhaustion. Eduardo also suffered, though he tried to hide it with jokes and smiles. One afternoon, after a particularly painful procedure, Eduardo came to my room. He looked pale and exhausted, but his eyes shone with determination. "You know why we're doing this, Lucy?" he asked, sitting on the edge of my bed. I shook my head, hugging my teddy bear, a gift my mother had brought from home. "We're making history, little one," he said softly. "What the doctors are learning from us could help many people in the future. People who have what we have, but who haven't had our luck." "Luck?" I asked, confused. "My stepfather abandoned me in the desert. I don't feel very lucky." Eduardo smiled sadly. "I know it seems strange, but think about it. Of all the people in the world, you and I have the same rare disease. Of all the places we met in that desert. And it turns out that our versions of the disease may be the key to finding a treatment. That's not coincidence, Lucy. It's something more." I wasn't sure I understood completely, but his words gave me a sense of purpose I hadn't felt before. By our third day, the medical team was ready to begin the first experimental protocol. The theory was relatively simple. They would culture my blood to isolate the protective protein my body produced naturally. Then they would use Eduardo's special cells to create a vehicle that could transport this protein through the immune system without being rejected. "It's like you have the medicine, Lucy, and Eduardo has the perfect bottle to store and distribute it," Dr. Fuentes explained. The procedure required both of us to be in optimal condition, so we spent a week receiving supportive treatments to improve our overall health. For me, this meant blood transfusions, nutritional supplements, and physiotherapy to strengthen my weakened muscles. For Eduardo, whose condition was more advanced, it included dialysis and more aggressive treatments. During that week, my mother and I adapted to our new life in the hospital. She had secured an extended leave from work and spent every free moment with me. At night, she read me stories, just like before. In the morning, she helped me bathe and carefully combed my hair, trying to maintain a semblance of normalcy amidst the medical chaos. Thor could visit 3 times a week, thanks to a special animal therapy program the hospital had recently implemented. These visits were the highlight of my week. Thor seemed to understand the gravity of the situation, behaving impeccably during his visits. He would curl up next to me in bed, offering the comfort only a loyal friend can provide. Eduardo, despite his physical deterioration, strived to stay mentally active. He asked for books and scientific articles, and spent hours studying everything related to our disease. Sometimes, when he had enough energy, he would come to my room and teach me things: chess, mathematics, basic science. He had a gift for explaining complicated concepts in a way even a 6-year-old could understand. "You'd be a great teacher," I told him one day, after he explained how blood cells worked. He smiled, a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Maybe in another life," he replied, "or maybe still in this one, if we're lucky." The relationship between Eduardo and my mother also evolved during those weeks. Initially, she kept a distance, perhaps still processing everything that had happened. But gradually, they began to talk more, to share their worries and hopes. Eduardo told her about his previous research, his solitary life dedicated to science, and how meeting me in the desert had changed his perspective. "Before I met Lucy, I was resigned to my illness," he confessed one night, unaware I was listening from my bed. "I had accepted that I would die alone, without ever finding a cure. But now I have a reason to fight." The day of the first experimental protocol arrived. They woke me early, prepared me with a series of medications, and took me to a special room, sterile and full of sophisticated medical equipment. Lucy's life took an unexpected turn when she was found abandoned in the desert, gravely ill. Her story, interwoven with that of Eduardo, a brilliant scientist battling a debilitating disease, became a beacon of hope amidst medical uncertainty. Their chance encounter, a twist of fate in the harsh landscape, led to a groundbreaking experimental treatment, a desperate gamble fueled by courage and scientific ingenuity. Months blurred into a whirlwind of intense medical procedures, anxious waits, and hopeful breakthroughs, punctuated by setbacks. The doctors, Dr. Montes and Dr. Fuentes, became their unwavering allies, guiding them through the perilous journey. Lucy's fiercely protective mother, her constant companion, found herself drawn into the heart of this extraordinary tale, a silent warrior alongside her daughter and her unlikely savior. Thor, their loyal dog, became a symbol of unwavering loyalty, a constant presence offering unconditional love amidst the medical drama. The initial results were cautiously optimistic, hinting at a possible remission, a flickering flame of hope in the darkness of their illnesses. The journey, though arduous, was marked by moments of shared laughter and quiet contemplation. Eduardo, despite his own suffering, found strength in meticulously documenting their experience, compiling data and sketching diagrams, leaving a legacy beyond their immediate survival. Their story captured national attention, and the media spotlight brought much-needed funding and awareness to rare diseases. However, fame brought unforeseen challenges, a stark reminder of the complexities of the world beyond the hospital walls. They faced accusations and skepticism, threats that tested their resilience, but their shared experience created an unbreakable bond. Their recovery became a testament to the human spirit's ability to overcome adversity. The daily regimen of tests and treatments became a shared experience, enriching their connection. Eduardo, a gifted teacher, became Lucy's tutor, blending age-appropriate learning with advanced concepts, igniting her curiosity. Their days included walks through the hospital gardens, where Eduardo shared stories of his life, his passion for science, and his unwavering pursuit of a cure, a dream that ultimately entwined with Lucy's fate. The final medical evaluations revealed a remarkable success. The treatment wasn't just halting the progression of their diseases, it was reversing the damage. The news was met with relief, joy, and a cautious optimism. The transition to outpatient care was a significant victory, a step towards normalcy. A small apartment near the hospital became their new home, a sanctuary of comfort and shared hope. Their lives, intertwined by an extraordinary circumstance, continued to unfold. Lucy's mother, inspired by their experience, found a new purpose, supporting families affected by similar conditions. Eduardo and Lucy's mother formed an unlikely yet deeply meaningful connection, evolving slowly, born from mutual respect, shared trauma, and the profound understanding that grew from their shared struggle. The years that followed were filled with further progress, research, and even a somewhat unexpected wedding proposal that cemented the bond between the three. Lucy and Eduardo's story became a powerful symbol of hope and resilience, a testament to the incredible power of human connection and the unwavering pursuit of a brighter tomorrow. The little girl found abandoned in the desert, and the ailing scientist became pioneers, forever changing the landscape of medical research. 80 years later, the echoes of their shared journey still resonate, a powerful reminder of hope's enduring strength. Alice Silver's life wasn't exactly a fairy tale start. Abandoned in a desolate wasteland, near death, 2 years of her life blur into a harrowing memory of thirst and despair. Yet from that bleak landscape, an improbable story bloomed. She encountered Ricardo, a dying man, and in a twist of fate that defied all odds, they shared their last precious water, forging a bond stronger than survival itself. It was the beginning of a miracle neither of them could have foreseen. Their rescue was only the first chapter. Ricardo, legally adopting her, became her father. Their makeshift family, Alice, Ricardo, and a scruffy terrier named Gale, rescued from the same harsh environment, found joy in the simplest things. Sunny breakfasts filled with plans, trips to the park where Gail romped, evenings of Ricardo's captivating readings, and Alice building molecular models. Alice's illness, a rare genetic disorder, responded remarkably to an experimental treatment. Her complete remission became a medical marvel, a testament to resilience and the profound impact of human connection. Doctors described it as a string of fortunate events, a lucky break, a miraculous outcome, a case study that revolutionized treatment for similar conditions, helping countless others. Returning to their hometown, they rebuilt their lives. Ricardo started a small research lab, connected to a major university hospital. Alice enrolled in school. Her mother found fulfillment as a bakery manager. Alice's scientific curiosity blossomed. At 12, her project on plants and music won her a prestigious science camp scholarship. The years moved with a quiet grace, marked by milestones. Gail, their loyal companion, passed away at 15, a heartbreak softened by their cherished memories. At 18, Alice embarked on a career in molecular biology at the Central University, motivated by a profound desire to alleviate the suffering she'd personally endured. Her academic journey was nothing short of spectacular. Her unique perspective and personal experiences fueled her research, leading to significant advancements in the treatment of rare genetic disorders. At 28, she joined the university hospital's team, working alongside the doctors who'd helped save her life. The Hoffman-Rossi program, born from her miraculous recovery, became a global leader in genetic disease treatment. Years later, at an international conference, she met Daniel, a brilliant geneticist. Their shared passion ignited a love story as extraordinary as their first encounter. They married in the same garden where Ricardo and Alice's mother exchanged vows, a symbol of enduring love and a testament to life's unpredictable turns. Life unfolded, filled with joys and sorrows. Ricardo and Alice's mother aged gracefully, surrounded by their expanding family. Alice's daughter, Mariana, heard her mother's extraordinary tale from her grandmother, how a sick girl and a dying man found healing and love amidst the harsh desert. It was, and is, a story that reaffirms the power of hope and unexpected miracles. Ricardo passed away peacefully at 85. His final research on expanding their treatment to other conditions published posthumously. Alice's mother joined him 2 years later. Both were laid to rest beneath the tree planted in memory of Gail, a symbol of their enduring journey. Alice, now 86, reflects on a life that started with unthinkable tragedy and bloomed into a testament to human resilience, scientific triumph, and unwavering love. Her daughter Mariana now leads the Hoffman-Rossi program, carrying the torch of their legacy. Her grandson, Alexander, is pursuing a doctorate in gene therapy. And every sunset, casting its golden hues across her garden, brings a whisper of memories of Gail's loyalty, Ricardo's laughter, and her mother's comforting touch. It's a story that whispers that even in the darkest desert, life in its most miraculous form finds a way to flourish. Alice Silva's life is proof of that.